So thank you all. Hippie shit. That's funny. I'm looking in the chat. Thank you all for making your way to this virtual space. It is one of the silver linings of this crazy, difficult, and fertile, rich, liminal space in which we find ourselves collectively. And the fact that at Lama we can still do the kinds of deep heart gatherings and soul gatherings that we have come to cherish is extraordinary. So thank you to Tracy and others for helping to create a sacred space even in this virtual way. So this is going to be very much an experiential gathering. It's going to fly by. We only have a little more than an hour together. And so we're going to kind of dive right in. And the way that I have found to sift through the layers of discursive thoughts, that kind of busy surface layer before writing, and I do this myself when I do my own writing practice, is to just have like a 5-minute meditation. So if you would just join me in that, I would be most grateful. I'm going to begin actually by lighting a candle. This beautiful amethyst candle here to invoke sacred space, because this is writing as prayer, writing as spiritual practice, not practice to get better at writing so that you can publish an essay, writing as spiritual practice. So this candle I light now in honor of each of you for making your way to this space right now. Whatever you have been through in your life that culminates in this very moment, whatever you carry in your heart, deep bow to you. May the ancestors and the unseen beings surround us with their love and protection and fire of creativity and courage as we do this soul work today together. And I'm going to read a prayer from this book, Mother of God, Similar to Fire. Many of you know Father Bill McNichols. Father Bill, he's known as an extraordinary iconographer. And he did this collection of 50 icons of Mother Mary and asked me to write a prayer for each one, and kind of in the universal voice of the Sacred Feminine. This came out about 10 years ago with Orbis Books, for those who might be interested. And I'm going to read you the title prayer. It's from an ancient Eastern Orthodox icon called Mother of God, Similar to Fire. That's the name of the icon. And so you can see her picture as I read this prayer and offer it to you. Mother of God, similar to fire, ignite my heart in prayer. Where once I stood on familiar ground, selecting my spiritual experiences like choice morsels from a well-tended larder. Now my garden has gone up in flames, and I thirst only for the living God. Let me find the beloved Mother as you do, deep inside my own ripened being. Let me swallow the sacred and burn with that presence, illuminating a way home to the truth. Lit from within, let my blazing heart become a sanctuary for the weary traveler, until this long night lifts and dawn unfolds her new radiance. So let's just drop into the stillness for about 3 minutes. A poem by Denise Levertov. Eye Mask. In this dark I rest, unready for the light which dawns day after day, eager to be shared. Black silk, shelter me. I need more of the night before I open eyes and heart to illumination. I must still grow in the dark like a root, not ready at all. Eye Mask by Denise Levertov. In this dark I rest, unready for the light which dawns day after day, eager to be shared. Black silk, shelter me. I need more of the night before I can open eyes and heart to illumination. I must still grow in the dark like a root, not ready at all. So many of us are feeling that sense of wanting to see people again, to hug people again, to go to our favorite coffee shops, to earn a living in the world, whatever it may be, to get back engaged with alleviating suffering in a hands-on way, whatever those impulses are. And yet this liminal time seems to be going on and calling us to stay close to our quietude, our stillness, our voluntary and involuntary simplicity. And some of us are feeling like, yeah, we're just getting warmed up, that there is so much more to be discovered and harvested from this time of radical not knowingness. And one of the ways that I have found to engage sacred space that is most powerful is through this kind of soul writing, writing as prayer, writing as spiritual practice. I find that when I give myself permission to write in this way, my soul speaks to me with such wisdom and humor and iconoclastic possibilities for subverting the dominant paradigm that I might not have had the capacity for unless I wrote through those layers and let my soul speak. So let's do some of this kind of embodied writing. When I say embodied, what I mean is that when we write, if we can avoid the temptation to write in abstract philosophical concepts and come back to the body again and again. This is the feminine way to me. The feminine way of writing is not to generate theology. The world's got plenty of those kinds of doctrines and discourses available. But the feminine way is soul writing, it's embodied writing, it's blessing the ordinary experience of incarnation as the miracle that it is. So I'm encouraging you in your writing to stay as specific and grounded in sensory detail as you can, no matter what your gender is. When I talk about the feminine way, I'm talking about the way of embodiment, of immanence, of blessing every particle of being as the very ground where the holy lives. The technique, and this was introduced to all of us by Natalie Goldberg in the late 80s, starting at Lama, really, starting with the little hippie free school that I went to in Taos, New Mexico, called Donna Hosley School, that Lama Foundation took over and ran when I was around 12, maybe, and until I left home at 15 and went off with Ram Dass. That's another chapter. And so Lama was running the school at that time, and Natalie was our writing teacher, and she developed writing practice in this little funky hogan in the back of Don Hosley School in Taos, New Mexico. A little uninsulated hogan with a little wood stove and a sand floor with a rug on it, and 12 little hippie kids. And this practice has become just a kind of a global phenomenon, a way to bring so many people. Well, she doesn't call it soul writing, but for me it is back to what our souls have to say. It is embodied, it is specific, it is sensory and sensual. So the technique is to, in a moment, I'm going to give you a prompt, and you're going to, I hope you have your writing stuff handy. You knew this was a writing workshop, right? I'm going to give you a prompt. I'm going to ring the bell, and I'm going to say go, and you're going to write without stopping for around 5 minutes. I'll ring the bell when it's time to stop. And the teaching here is that when you keep your hand moving, whether you're using an electronic device or paper and pen, when you keep your hand moving, it kind of helps you outrun the internal critic, that censor that says, this isn't good enough, this is too much, it's not enough, it's whatever our judgments of ourselves may be. Our dear friend Elaine Sutton, who I also met at Lama and who many of you knew and loved, and who I was with as she took her last breaths just a couple of years ago. Elaine was a masterful teacher of this method, and she called that internal critic, she named it Fritz. And when you keep your hand moving in this practice, you can outrun Fritz. Fritz has no place here, not allowed in the sacred space of this writing practice. So when whatever arises is what comes, and that's what is real and welcomed. If something feels risky and like, oh my gosh, I can't say that, it's probably got the juice, and you should follow that risky thread. When you're writing, please don't worry about spelling, punctuation, grammar. God knows penmanship. Stay specific, stay in the body, stay with your own personal experience, and try to avoid spiritual cliches, because they're in there. You don't even notice they're cliches because they're so much a conditioned part of many of our consciousness. I think that's enough for now. That's probably all the talking I'm going to do until we get to the Q&R at the end. I think I'm going to give you your first prompt. Are you ready? So the first prompt is, the first time I saw you. The first time I saw you. 5 minutes, go.